The Splinter Cell series has now officially turned 20 years old, with the first game coming out on November 17, 2002. Starring the sardonic spy Sam Fisher, voiced by legendary actor Michael Ironside, it became one of the most celebrated stealth franchises in all of gaming, up there with the Deus Ex and Hitman games. For many, it may be hard to imagine that it's been 2 decades since the maiden entry, and over the years, there have many releases featuring the government agent. It seems that November is a good month for video game anniversaries, with Ratchet and Clank turning 20, Skyrim recently turning 11 and the Grand Theft Auto series reaching its 25th year soon. There is perhaps something to be said about launching close to the end of the year, as many titles that get released, such as the aforementioned ones, go on to become successful. Many have stuck around, with franchises releasing hit after hit, and not only does it show the quality of some of these titles but also how gaming on the whole has grown up over the decades. Now it's the turn of Splinter Cell to celebrate a landmark age. For those who have yet to play any of the entries, the crux of the games is to take on the role of the iconic Fisher, a former Navy SEAL now working for the NSA, in the fictional 3rd Echelon Division. Players are tasked with penetrating enemy territories, hiding in the shadows in order to take out dissenters, terrorists, and to recover secret intel. The games have generally been met with praise, with 2005's Chaos Theory considered one of the best in the whole series. Sadly, subsequent installments haven't had as big an impact on the genre as the originals, with 2010's Splinter Cell Conviction being all but forgotten despite still being well received. Blacklist, which came out in 2013, was also praised, but there were some criticisms over the fact that both of these games were a gritty departure from the series' previous entries, with the latter being particularly noteworthy for not having Ironside voice Fisher. However, with Ubisoft now working on a Splinter Cell remake, the espionage antics of the deep-voiced spy will be making a return. Gaming is in something of a remake and remaster era, and no doubt some players are beginning to tire of them. However, there have been some great games that have made triumphant returns, and hopefully Splinter Cell will be no different. Ubisoft celebrates the Splinter Cell 20th anniversary with developer discussions and brand new concept art for the upcoming remake. The Splinter Cell development team is determined to create a top-tier remake and push quality as much as possible as 2023 approaches. According to Ubisoft creative director Chris Audi, the new Splinter Cell is not a simple remaster since the game is being developed from the ground up. In December 2021, Ubisoft confirmed the Splinter Cell remake was in development with a rewritten story designed to entice new players. The development team is creating content from scratch with the goal of making a good foundation for the future of the series, according to Xavier Porter, the associate-level design director for the Splinter Cell remake. To celebrate Splinter Cell's 20th anniversary, the team at Ubisoft decided to share more details about the Splinter Cell remake and release new concept art for fans. Splinter Cell protagonist Sam Fisher is shown in early concept art for the highly anticipated remake. Once more, Fisher will stealthily engage enemies during covert operations around the world, and the concept art shows some locations he will be sent to for missions. The concept art depicts Fisher with his signature weapons such as the silenced FN-57 handgun and SC combat knife as well. Director Audi reveals the remake is very early in the production phase and the development team is currently prototyping. The team does not want to rush anything in the production phase, so Ubisoft will go dark for a while regarding official news for the Splinter Cell remake. Ubisoft wanted to celebrate the franchise by giving fans another glimpse into the Splinter Cell remake with the aforementioned concept art. Ubisoft is taking its time with the Splinter Cell remake to ensure the best possible experience for its fans. As depicted in the concept art, Ubisoft wants to stay true to the original Splinter Cell experience while creating a polished and intuitive stealth game for new and returning players. If the remake's development proceeds as originally intended, Ubisoft may be able to develop even more games in the Splinter Cell franchise. To coincide with the Splinter Cell 20th anniversary, the original Splinter Cell game for PC is free until November 30th in the Ubisoft Store. Ubisoft provides an ample opportunity for new players to familiarize themselves with the stealth genre as development of the Splinter Cell remake continues in earnest. A Ubisoft developer working on the upcoming Splinter Cell remake has explained that the game would support a full pacifist playthrough with no necessary kill targets, should the player decide to pursue this line of progression. The long-awaited remake of the original Splinter Cell aims to take inspiration from the franchise's roots, but the developers don't seem to be afraid of making necessary changes in some instances. With almost a decade having gone by since the release of Blacklist, the last Splinter Cell game, fans of the franchise have been eager for a new entry that would lean more heavily toward stealth, rather than combat. Up until Conviction, SC games had featured rather punishing combat systems that effectively forced players into stealth gameplay, which forms the very core of the franchise. So far, everything points to Ubisoft making the right choices for the Splinter Cell remake. According to the recent anniversary interview with senior game designer Andy Schmall, killing enemies is going to be completely optional. And the developers want to give the player a few more opportunities to de-escalate some of those situations. Schmall also explained that the studio is looking to improve the moment-to-moment stealth action that was so special in the original. Chris Audi, the creative director working on the game, also participated in the interview, explaining that the remake's improved flexibility will be accomplished by introducing a wider variety of gadgets and movement abilities than was present in the original release. Historically, Splinter Cell has always been a very highly regarded stealth game franchise. Focusing primarily on stealth rather than combat, players needed to discover alternatives to shooting people, making each new encounter essentially a puzzle to solve in real time. Sometimes, encounters called for advanced agility options, such as protagonist Sam Fisher's iconic split jump. Other times, however, players needed to rely on shadows, which could be created by destroying lights, using EMP-based tools, and other similar gadgets. The fact that the developers aim to double down on these features suggests that the Splinter Cell remake could be better than the Prince of Persia remake, which has seemingly been severely mishandled during its production. Enabling a full pacifist playthrough feels well in line with what a Splinter Cell game ought to be about and may alleviate some concerns that franchise veterans may have about this remake. Now that Splinter Cell has turned 20, though, fans were hoping that something would be done with the franchise. And a remake of the original title may provide the perfect starting point for a new series of core stealth games in the future. The specifics are, of course, still hazy this early on, but the information coming from Ubisoft definitely seems promising at this time. Ubisoft reveals plans to bring its games to Steam, so you can check out these games on Steam too after the full integration. So, what do you think of these Splinter Cell concept arts and the interview? A recent update from Team Ninja has walked back rumors surrounding an upcoming reboot of Dead or Alive from the recent Korean G-Star trade show. Team Ninja's panel during G-Star sparked rumors of a major reboot coming from the developer, thanks to a slide entitled Reboots of Popular Series, during the presentation. Both the fighting game and the studio's titular Ninja Gaiden were teased during the show, with fans speculating that a reboot of the games were in development. The G-Star conference is the largest games industry show in Korea, and it's quite common for prominent Korean and Southeast Asian developers to make an appearance and give presentations and reveals. However, Team Ninja has since looked to quell the swirling rumors surrounding the panel. Both franchises serve as some of Team Ninja's most popular IPs, with each series having a storied history. Team Ninja formed alongside the development of the first Dead or Alive, released in 1996, and has developed every game in the franchise, with the most recent coming in 2019's Dead or Alive 6. The development team first worked on Ninja Gaiden with the franchise's 3D reboot in 2004 and went on to create the highly successful trilogy alongside several spin-offs. Now, Dead or Alive and Ninja Gaiden reboots may not be as guaranteed as fans thought. In a recent statement to gaming publication VGC, Team Ninja clarified the statements made by Team Ninja president Fumihiko Yasuda. While the studio is reportedly considering sequels, remakes, or reboots in the Ninja Gaiden and Dead or Alive franchises, the developer has no hard-set details to share about the games. While Team Ninja denied any specific details at the moment, the studio did not fully rule out the possibility of a remake, stating it shares the enthusiasm for the return of the franchises. A reboot or remake in the Ninja Gaiden franchise would be a long-awaited return for a franchise that has fallen mostly dormant for several years. While Dead or Alive received its newest entry in 2019, the wait has been much longer for Ninja Gaiden fans, with the last main series entry coming with 2012's Ninja Gaiden 3: Razor's Edge. However, the 3D Ninja Gaiden trilogy was recently brought to modern platforms with the release of the Ninja Gaiden Master Collection last year. While Team Ninja may have temporarily quashed rumors surrounding the potential reboots, the developer has given fans plenty of reasons to be excited about its other franchises. Nioh has seen significant success for Team Ninja as a PlayStation exclusive, with 2020's Nioh 2 nominated for Best Action Game at the Game Awards. The developer also has a brand new IP launching next year with Wolong Fallen Dynasty set in China's Three Kingdoms period. Now, a leak claims that an upcoming Ninja Gaiden game will be developed by Platinum Games. Ninja Gaiden is a franchise that has been dormant for nearly a decade, outside of spin-offs and remasters. That changed this past week when Team Ninja, the developers of the most recent Ninja Gaiden trilogy, hinted that return is planned, though that announcement has since been walked back, to a degree. Needless to say, it's going to raise some eyebrows that Team Ninja may not be the team behind the new Ninja Gaiden project. To say it's an odd situation would be an understatement. Team Ninja may not be the developer of the new game, but it is a subsidiary of Koei Tecmo. It would be familiar with whether a new Ninja Gaiden game is being made, especially since it made the most recent trilogy in the franchise. It may not have intended to announce a new game, but it could have done so without thinking. Why Platinum would be brought in, however, is a mystery. Perhaps Team Ninja is busy with its action RPGs, like Nioh, while Platinum does have a lot of modern action game experience. As for when this leak could potentially be confirmed, there's no way to be sure. With leaked information regarding the project already being shared online, further details regarding Platinum's involvement could be revealed at any time. It could also be years yet before any more information is shared, as the new Ninja Gaiden game is likely very early in development and Platinum likes to take its time. Nevertheless, this news is likely to drive up interest in the return of Ninja Gaiden. While Ninja Gaiden and Dead or Alive reboots are unconfirmed, the return of these franchises would certainly excite many of Team Ninja's passionate fans. Let me know if you are a fan and if you want them bring back these two universes. The developers of the upcoming fighting game, Street Fighter VI, state they would love to do a crossover between the fighting game franchise and the superheroes of Marvel and DC Comics. When it comes to best fighting games, Capcom's crown jewel Street Fighter is at the top of that list for many people. With the sixth mainline entry coming out next year, fans have been eager to see what is in store for the series, and the game is quickly becoming one of the most anticipated releases for 2023. With Capcom marketing the game as a fresh experience, Game Informer has been revealing a number of new aspects for fans to be on the lookout for. This includes the showcase of a new simplified control scheme in the game, along with the announcement of Capcom and Udon Entertainment making a set of Street Fighter VI comics that tie into the plot of the game. Game Informer also recently did a rapid-fire interview between two key members of the development team, director Takayuki Nakayama and Shuhei Matsumoto, asking them a variety of questions in quick succession. Among the questions that got some laughs from the developers, one of them was which series that they would like to see Street Fighter crossover with in the future. Nakayama states that he was a big fan of DC Comics, stating it would be a fantastic opportunity. He notes that he's loved to collaborate with both DC and Marvel Comics, with Matsumoto noting the possibility would be a lot of fun. They both note, however, that the prospect of doing so would be quite difficult, laughing about it at the end of their answer. With the rights for DC Comics characters being held by Warner Bros., and NetherRealm Studios being the developers of the DC Comics Injustice fighting game, this led into a question regarding a possible crossover between Street Fighter and Mortal Kombat. Nakayama notes it'd be very cool, but then immediately notes that it would be uncomfortable to watch certain characters from the series have their heads fall off, with Matsumoto noting it might be alright if that gory action happened off-screen instead. Near the end of the rapid-fire interview, they were asked about a character from the Marvel Comics roster that would best fit Street Fighter SX's lineup, with Nakayama stating that he would love to put Killmonger into the game. While Capcom is no stranger to crossovers, getting these specific team-ups to happen would be seen as miraculous, as getting the necessary approval from the rights holders nowadays is more difficult now than in the past. Still, if the stars aligned correctly, many fans would love the chance to see some Marvel or DC guest characters in the upcoming game. A new update for Marvel's Avengers launches later this month, introducing the Winter Soldier as a new playable hero. Players can expect new content alongside Winter Soldier's arrival in Marvel's Avengers, and more updates are planned beyond the major November update. Square Enix and Crystal Dynamics continue to support Marvel's Avengers after the Embracer Group acquisition of Square Enix's Western game divisions, which includes Square Enix Montreal and Eidos Montreal. 2 months have passed since Marvel's Avengers Update 2.6, and the development team was hard at work preparing for the release of Update 2.6. Marvel's Avengers Update 2.7 releases on November 29 with new content and the arrival of the Winter Soldier. The Winter Soldier will help the Avengers face a dangerous Omega-level threat requiring players to have their best gear in order to stand a chance. The November 29 update for Marvel's Avengers continues the story from where No Rest for the Wicked left off in the prior update. MODOK was revived, but the Avengers are unable to keep him under control for long. As a result, MODOK has taken control of AIM's cloning lab, and the Avengers determined that he's an Omega-level threat that must be dealt with before the world collapses. The cloning lab Omega-level threat will be an endgame challenge requiring a minimum power level of 175, so players should venture with their best heroes and gear to complete the mission. Once ready, players can take the Winter Soldier into the fight against MODOK and earn high-level gear dropping at a max power level of 185. Before attempting to fight MODOK, players may recruit the Winter Soldier in Marvel's Avengers by completing his heroic mission chain to help him regain his confidence. The Winter Soldier is still dealing with trauma from his super soldier treatment and captivity, but he will be a boon in the fight against MODOK. Moreover, players earn Bucky's iconic outfit as an added bonus for completing his missions. Although Square Enix wasn't thrilled about Marvel's Avengers sales, the game received substantial support 2 years after launch. In fact, Marvel's Avengers Update 2.7 is one of the game's largest updates to date, with the Winter Soldier being one of the most anticipated additions to the hero roster. For those seeking challenging endgame content, the cloning lab Omega-level threat appears to be a worthy inclusion as well. More updates are planned for Marvel's Avengers after Update 2.7, but Square Enix and Crystal Dynamics remain vague on details about what will come next. Though the Strong War for Wakanda expansion restored some hope that Marvel's Avengers could turn things around, the game has once again faded into obscurity in recent months. Poor web-swinging mechanics for Spider-Man saw the Heroes addition to the game shrugged off by many, and Jane Foster being an almost exact copy of the original Thor was a letdown. With neither character bringing an operation either, it feels like the ongoing story has stalled completely, and it is hard to imagine Winter Soldier saving the game. While Bucky Barnes could be a ton of fun to play as thanks to his cybernetic arm and an arsenal of guns, it seems unlikely that he will be able to bring life back to the Marvel's Avengers community. There are a few reasons for this, and all of them come together to make a new hero addition a bit less exciting than it should be. Unfortunately, most fans have moved on from the game after 2 years, losing hope that it will ever reach the heights that they wanted it to. Unless Crystal Dynamics can deliver some attractive and new useful content alongside him, the amount of people making use of Winter Soldier will likely be very small. Though it is unclear whether Bucky Barnes will be bringing new story content along with him, it was not announced to be accompanying him. So it seems like he will be following in the footsteps of Spider-Man and Jane Foster's Thor. This is a major problem, as it continues the issue that has followed Marvel's Avengers across its entire life cycle. While new heroes are fun, they become pointless when gamers have no new content to use them in. If players are stuck fighting the same enemies and bosses they have battled as every other character, the motivation to level up Winter Soldier could fade away fast. On top of this, Bucky Barnes is simply not a popular enough character to get eyes back on the game. Though there is no denying that Winter Soldier has become a far bigger name than he used to be thanks to the MCU, he is still not as exciting as someone like Doctor Strange or Scarlet Witch. Captain Marvel and Ant-Man are 2 more characters that would be exciting to play, as their movesets would be different from all the other heroes. Though Bucky would be nice to have if the game had some more heavy hitters, his debut is going to lack the hype that would accompany Carol Danvers or Wanda Maximoff. First and foremost, Crystal Dynamics has to sweeten the deal with Bucky's debut, and the fastest way to do this is by adding missions alongside him. Like Kate Bishop and Clint Barton, a proper operation with cutscenes and new areas could get fans who enjoyed the story to return to the game. Further, Bucky's story could bring some much-needed enemy variety to Marvel's Avengers, with Hydra coming as a new faction for players to fight. Battling something other than AIM or Claw's mercenaries would be refreshing, and it is something fans have always been calling for. With a small team working on Marvel's Avengers and the game's budget probably cut down drastically, another expansion like War for Wakanda is likely off the table. However, Crystal Dynamics should still aim to move the story forward in a big way, ending the overly long AIM arc after Bucky is released on November 29. Even if a new story is slowly told across a mission every other month, players need a fresh threat to fight. With Ultron teased, the corrupt AI and his many copies could make for a welcome change, and having another named villain to battle instead of an endless supply of Monica Rappaccini clones is a must. Everything could culminate in a raid against Ultron, motivating players to gear up their heroes again. A story operation for Bucky Barnes that features Hydra is one option to build up hype, and another route would be Ultron's arrival. One final possibility would be a double hero drop, with the heavily leaked She-Hulk DLC coming at the same time as or shortly after the debut of Winter Soldier. If Crystal Dynamics does not have the time and resources for an Ultron story or a Hydra-focused operation, Marvel's Avengers putting all its eggs in one basket and dropping a double hero update could be the best possible scenario. Though it is hard to imagine gamers sticking around with no new enemies to fight, Bucky alone is simply not enough at this point, so this would be better than just adding him. God of War Ragnarok has been out for a full week now, which means many players are likely wondering what developer Santa Monica Studio is cooking up next. Good news for those fans then, as the studio has a few projects under development, according to producer Cory Barlog. Launching last week on November 9th, Ragnarok debuted to near-universal acclaim, continuing the streak of high praise that the God of War series has maintained throughout its lifetime. The game marks the grand finale for the storyline begun in the 2018 sequel to God of War 3, and now that the story of Kratos, Atreus, and the Norse gods is done, the question now is how Santa Monica intends to follow that up. A tease of what's to come came courtesy of Barlog, who directed 2018's God of War while serving as a producer for Ragnarok. In a Los Angeles Times article about the making of their newest game, Barlog is said to have revealed that the team at Santa Monica Studio is spread out on a lot of different things. Unfortunately, though, no specifics about what these things could be were revealed. There have been some rumblings in the game industry hinting at what the studio is working on. Earlier this year, job listings indicated that Santa Monica Studio is working on an unannounced, large-scale project. Barlog has also hinted at a new project of his own in the past, which he chose to work on over directing Ragnarok. Beyond these, one can only speculate what these projects could be. Obviously, it's safe to assume that the developers could be planning the next installment in the God of War series. Without going into spoiler territory, the ending of God of War Ragnarok does leave the door open for the story to continue in some form beyond the Norse saga. Considering how successful the game has been so far in its early launch period, it'd probably be more surprising if Santa Monica didn't return to the series eventually. A lot of different things also might not refer to just Santa Monica's projects. Aside from its internal development teams, the studio has an incubation team that has assisted on AAA and indie games from other studios, such as Flower, Journey, The Unfinished Swan, and The Order 1886. In other words, there's a whole slew of possibilities as to what Santa Monica Studio could be working on and with whom, now that God of War Ragnarok is behind it. It doesn't appear as though God of War Ragnarok will be receiving any kind of major DLC expansion, according to the game's director. God of War Ragnarok launched earlier this month to rave reviews from critics, becoming the second highest rated game of 2022 in the process. God of War Ragnarok is up for multiple awards at the Game Awards this year, including Game of the Year. In fact, God of War Ragnarok has more nominations than any other game at the big show, cementing it as one of the year's best. It also won Best Narrative and Game of the Year at the big awards, and broken sales record on UK and worldwide. The Santa Monica release has now broken another milestone as it achieved the biggest launch in the UK in the franchise's history. God of War games has a history of performing commercially well in the United Kingdom, as numerous titles from the franchise have debuted at the top spot. Out of the 12 God of War games released in the UK, 4 managed to reach the #1 spot while others also performed adequately. God of War Ragnarok joins the club of highly successful games from the franchise to top the UK sales chart, and that is based only on physical sales. Furthermore, the latest God of War title sold more copies in a single day than any other game from the franchise did in an entire week. However, the most successful game from the God of War franchise was the 2018 action-adventure title, among the best-selling games of that year. Ragnarok's predecessor was behind only a handful of notable video games like Call of Duty Black Ops 4, Marvel's Spider-Man, FIFA 19, and Red Dead Redemption 2. Moreover, the reports also say that 55% of the game's PS5 sales came from the God of War hardware bundle, and fans are expecting God of War Ragnarok to break many more records as time progresses. God of War Ragnarok is one of the biggest launches of the year, and its physical sales have beaten some renowned names like Elden Ring, Call of Duty, and Pokemon in the United Kingdom. It seems God of War fans in the UK are enjoying the title more than other places, as God of War Ragnarok broke a series record recently. The latest title saw the biggest launch from the franchise in the UK based on physical sales. Now God of War Ragnarok has achieved another key milestone by beating several notable game titles at the UK physical sales box office. As things stand, the latest entry from the God of War franchise is only behind FIFA 23 and the new Pokemon this year, as it saw the third biggest physical sales launch in the UK. This data is only based on physical sales and excludes digital downloads. Regardless, God of War Ragnarok's performance at the box office is commendable. The game sold more boxed copies on the first day than any other previous God of War game. GfK reports that Ragnarok sold 51% more physical copies than God of War 4, the previous bestseller. The data also points out that God of War Ragnarok's 82% physical sales came for PS5 and the remaining 18% were on PS4. Sony has revealed that God of War Ragnarok has set a new record for the fastest-selling first-party launch in PlayStation history. The sequel to 2018's reboot of the iconic God-slaying franchise has been one of the most highly anticipated releases of 2022. With only 2 weeks since the game's debut, it has already shown to be a dominant sales force, beating out franchises like Pokemon and Call of Duty. Now, Sony has confirmed that the newest God of War has not only set a record for the franchise but PlayStation as a whole. A new reveal from Sony has confirmed that God of War Ragnarok sold a staggering 5.1 million copies between the PS4 and PS5 versions within a week of the game's launch, actually in 5 days. Sony confirmed that Ragnarok has not only set a franchise record for God of War, but now stands as the fastest-selling first-party PlayStation game. Sony's first-party record was previously held by Naughty Dog's The Last of Us Part 2, selling over 4 million copies in its release week in 3 days. While the 2018 God of War reboot held its franchise record. God of War Ragnarok looks to stand out in a year that sees fierce competition from other highly anticipated games for the honor of Game of the Year. Ragnarok will compete with several other high-profile releases for the Game Awards' most coveted title, including From Software's Elden Ring and fellow Sony-exclusive Horizon Forbidden West. God of War Ragnarok's massive sales success is already apparent and will surely continue to grow throughout the holiday season. It is really nice to see gamers supporting high-quality single-player games, and the sales are gonna skyrocket in Christmas and the holiday window. God of War Ragnarok director Eric Williams recently appeared on the Kinda Funny Games podcast to discuss the game. When asked if there would be any DLC for God of War Ragnarok, Williams said that he wouldn't count on it, due to the size of God of War Ragnarok. "I think we put everything we had into it," he said. One hugely popular feature that was added to the 2018 God of War game after launch was the new Game Plus mode, which allowed players to go back through the story with the equipment they earned in their initial playthrough. God of War Ragnarok currently does not have a new Game Plus mode, but it's certainly within the realm of possibility that the feature could be added to the game in an update at some point, just like what happened with the 2018 game. Photo mode is also needed. The hype surrounding the latest God of War franchise is understandable, as fans have waited for years to see the series finale in the Norse era. The story of the game covers Ragnarok, an important event in Norse mythology, which was foretold in the previous title. I have 100% finished God of War Ragnarok and now in my second playthrough. Even though I loved the game, shed some tears, I have some criticisms regarding some downgrades from the Greek saga, expectations, and some disappointments. I will make a separate video regarding the situation and let the developers know what they have done wrong and underwhelming. Speaking of Santa Monica Studio game director Eric Williams wants to follow up on the success of God of War Ragnarok by making a Castlevania game, the industry veteran revealed in a recent interview. During his appearance in the latest episode of Kinda Funny Games Spoilercast, Williams said he's uncertain on what his next project is going to be, but noted that his team would love to make a Castlevania game should they somehow procure a license to do so from Konami. While Williams's comment was likely made in jest, it serves as yet another reminder that one of gaming's most iconic franchises has been stuck in limbo for nearly a decade by now. With its latest mainline installment being 2014's Castlevania Lords of Shadow 2. Since then, Konami has only greenlit 2 pachinko games and Castlevania Grimoire of Souls, a mobile spin-off that was soft-launched and promptly cancelled in 2019, only to reappear on Apple Arcade last year. Appearing in good spirits during the Monday interview, Williams implied that the Spoilercast crew might be able to help Studio Santa Monica with procuring the Castlevania license on account of their global outreach, before jokingly acknowledging how that statement alone is bound to land him into so much trouble. Facetious or not, this isn't the first occasion on which the veteran game designer professed his adoration for the Castlevania franchise. Around this time last year, Williams cited Castlevania II Simon's Quest as one of the main God of War Ragnarok influences. Williams was part of every God of War development team ever, but Ragnarok was the first game he ever directed. Studio Santa Monica has a long-standing tradition of switching directors between projects in an effort to maintain a fresh creative perspective, as previously revealed by Cory Barlog, who helmed the development of the 2018 God of War reboot. As for the likelihood that Konami ever considers licensing the Castlevania IP to Sony, stranger things have happened. Though the Japanese entertainment giant seemingly took a step back from AAA development following its fallout with Hideo Kojima during the development of Metal Gear Solid 5: The Phantom Pain and the lackluster reception of Metal Gear Survive, its recent revival of the Silent Hill franchise shows that the company is still adamant to make some use of its gaming IPs beyond the pachinko world. What's more, the relative success of the Netflix Castlevania series and the Apple partnership that led to the revival of Castlevania Grimoire of Souls both clearly demonstrate that Konami is not opposed to the idea of lending the iconic franchise to third parties, even if it remains reluctant to commit to a new mainline game. I definitely want Castlevania Lords of Shadow 3. The free PlayStation Plus games for November 2022 are available for subscribers to claim now, with the games available across the PS Plus Essential, Extra, and Premium tiers. One of the main perks of being a PlayStation Plus subscriber is the chance to claim new free games every month, and now the November 2022 offerings are up for grabs. Subscribers to Sony's premium subscription service have until December 5th to claim the free games. The free PlayStation Plus games for November 2022 are headlined by Nioh 2 from developer Team Ninja that earned critical acclaim at the time of its original release. Nioh 2 earned widespread acclaim for its challenging action gameplay. PS Plus subscribers are able to choose from both the PlayStation 5 and PlayStation 4 versions of the game, so everyone can try it out, even if they haven't had the chance to upgrade their console just yet. The other 2 games PS Plus subscribers can claim for November 2022 are LEGO Harry Potter Collection and Heavenly Bodies. Heavenly Bodies, like Nioh 2, has native PS5 and PS4 versions to choose from, while LEGO Harry Potter Collection only has a PS4 version available. However, PS5 backward compatibility means that owners of Sony's latest console can claim, download, and play LEGO Harry Potter Collection on PS5 just fine. For those unfamiliar with the games, Heavenly Bodies is an indie physics puzzle game, whereas LEGO Harry Potter Collection combines the 2 LEGO Harry Potter games into a single package. LEGO Harry Potter Collection should keep PS Plus subscribers especially busy, as those going for 100% will have a ton of collectibles to find spread across LEGO Harry Potter Years 1 to 4 and LEGO Harry Potter Years 5 to 7. PS Plus Extra users are getting 15 new games today, while PS Plus Premium is adding 5 games. Sony also mentions 3 more PS4 games coming to the Extra game catalog later this month. The dominating franchise addition for PS Plus Extra this month is Kingdom Hearts. Of the 12 games made available today, 4 of them belong to that franchise: Kingdom Hearts HD 1.5 plus 2.5 Remix, Kingdom Hearts HD 2.8 Final Chapter Prologue, Kingdom Hearts 3, and Kingdom Hearts Melody of Memory. The rest is a mixed batch of high-profile games like Skyrim and smaller games like The Gardens Between. Meanwhile, on the PS Plus Premium front, players are being treated to a PS3 feast. PS Plus is celebrating Ratchet and Clank's anniversary by adding 5 of the franchise's PS3 games. This means that every Ratchet and Clank game is on PS Plus minus Rift Apart, the 2 PSP games, and obviously the mobile ones. Overall, it's a pretty solid slate of additions this month. Recently we celebrated Ratchet and Clank's 20-year anniversary, with Sony and Insomniac celebrating the franchise in a couple of ways. In honor of the anniversary, Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart is getting 5 new armor sets based on franchise history. These include Commando Armor, Going Commando, Holoflux Armor, A Crack in Time, Quest Armor, Quest for Booty, Marauder Armor, Deadlocked, and Clank Armor to celebrate the greatest of pals. The big surprise is that all 5 PS Plus premium games are classic Ratchet and Clank titles, coming to the service on November 15th. These are all PS3 titles fans may have not played in some time, or new fans may have never played, to begin with. These Ratchet and Clank games join those already available on PS Plus Premium, which include Quest for Booty, A Crack in Time, All for One, Full Frontal Assault, and Into the Nexus. Ratchet and Clank 2016 is available in the PS Plus collection, but this means every game in the franchise is available via PS Plus except for the latest game, Rift Apart, and the 2 PSP games, Size Matters and Secret Agent Clank. There's also the mobile games to consider, but those aren't likely to ever appear for obvious reasons. Overall, it seems the PSP and PS Vita gets a little less attention than other platforms when it comes to PS Plus Premium announcements, as God of War Chains of Olympus and Ghost of Sparta are still not available. I hope they focus more on those platforms as well, to bring the other games to modern platforms. And that's all for the video guys, like and share the video for a greater audience. Comment your thoughts on the topics and donations are always appreciated. Subscribe to the channel and click the bell icon, and until then from SMPV, it's goodbye.